Hey guys, welcome back to Based MMA. In this video, I'm going to be discussing Aljamain Sterling announcing his move to featherweight. I know this news is kind of old, but I did not get a chance to make a video about it, and I still wanted to discuss it because I have a lot of mixed feelings about Aljamain Sterling moving up to the featherweight division. I know this is old news, but I still wanted to make a video discussing whether or not it is a good idea for Aljamain Sterling to move up to the featherweight division. Um, and before I even get started on why or why not it might not be a good idea for Aljamain Sterling to actually move up to the featherweight division, we need to call something out. The reality is that Aljamain Sterling did the UFC a favor by having a quick turnaround after his fight against Henry Cejudo to fight Sean O'Malley in August. I mean, it is no secret that the weight cuts are very draining on Aljamain Sterling. Aljamain Sterling walks around at 180 pounds and needs to cut to 135 pounds. He's a big bantamweight. And, he had just fought Henry Cejudo in May. And the UFC quickly, after that fight, they already knew that Sean O'Malley was most likely going to fight him in August. And, Aljamain Sterling could have been like, fuck no. He could have been like, no, I'm not going to turn around that quickly. I'm not ready. I need recovery, all these things. But he had the balls. He took the risk. And he did the UFC a favor and took that fight with Sean O'Malley in August when, to be totally honest with you, it was a quick turnaround. You know what I'm saying? It was a quick turnaround. And I know maybe you guys are big Sean O'Malley fans. I like Sean O'Malley. I'm a fan of Sean O'Malley. But let's call it what it is, man. Aljamain Sterling did the UFC a favor by actually fighting Sean O'Malley in August, where most champions would have waited 4 or 5 months to come back, especially after that. I mean, I guess it was a technical war he had with Henry Cejudo. I know necessarily it wasn't like this bloody war, but still, 5 rounds, that takes a lot out of you. All the injuries you accumulate in camp, the weight cut, all these things. Like, fighters need recovery. They need time off. As much as us MMA fans, we want to see them fight every weekend. The reality is that fighters need to take some time off. You know what I'm saying? So Aljamain Sterling, like I said, he did the UFC a big favor, man. And he really, did the big UFC a big favor with fighting Sean O'Malley with such a short turnaround. And in a way, he kind of gave Sean O'Malley the best chance of beating him. Bringing this up in the first place is because I do believe that the UFC should try to repay Aljamain Sterling in some sort of way. And the way I think that Aljamain Sterling should be repaid for actually taking a short notice fight, I mean, not a short notice, but a quick turnaround against Sean O'Malley, is by providing him the opportunity to fight in the bantamweight division against, not in the bantamweight division, in the featherweight division against Max Holloway. And the reason why it needs to be Max Holloway is because Max Holloway is the only person that I think that Aljamain Sterling can go out there and beat and automatically get a title shot. Like, I think if he beats Max Holloway, he deserves a title shot against, whether that be Volkanovski or Topuria, whoever that ends up winning. I think that if Volkanovski ends up winning his fight against Topuria and then Aljamain Sterling beats Max Holloway, I think there's a more likely chance of that fight happening than if Ilya Topuria beats Volkanovski. I think that the UFC might give Volkanovski a rematch. And that's another thing, guys, because the reality is that Aljamain Sterling, he did deserve a rematch against Sean O'Malley. He did deserve a rematch against Sean O'Malley because as much as we don't like him, I don't dislike the guy. I think he seems like a cool guy in the interviews that I've watched from him. And I'm just not a big fan of his fighting style. I don't find him entertaining. I don't like the way he fights necessarily. But the guy's talented. He's good. But with all that being said, we cannot forget that, I mean, this guy fought Peter Yan twice, beat him in the second fight definitively. I know the first fight, I don't need to repeat that. You guys know what happened in the first Peter Yan fight. And then the TJ Dillashaw, he destroyed TJ Dillashaw. It wasn't his fault that TJ Dillashaw showed up with one arm. You know, that's not his fault. He went out there and did what he was supposed to. And then he fights Henry Cejudo, beats Henry Cejudo. That's a very good win. And then he does a quick turnaround to fight Aljamain Sterling. Sean O'Malley. So it's not like Aljamain Sterling was, you know, he didn't have any title defenses and then he quickly loses the belt and then, you know, he's not, but you know what I'm saying? He then doesn't deserve a rematch, right? Like if he had just won the belt against Henry Cejudo, then I think you can make a solid argument. Then I think it's fair that he probably should not deserve a rematch because he just won the title. But because he actually had 2-3 title defenses, in my opinion, he did deserve a title shot. But let's be honest, like this is where, you know, the UFC, it's not fair, right? It's not fair. And they're going to cater to some fighters because they're bigger stars. Maybe they have a more entertaining fighting style. And I don't think Aljamain Sterling did himself any favors with him discussing the possibility of him moving up to the featherweight division if he would have beat Sean O'Malley. I think that actually kind of worked against him because I felt like the UFC actually kind of pressured him like, hey bro, I mean not hey bro, but hey kid, because I mean they know why I probably call him a kid. Hey kid, you need to move up to the featherweight division and we're gonna move on in the bantamweight division. Because think about it. Think about how fast now the bantamweight division is moving. It's like the bantamweight division, the UFC quickly forgot that Aljamain Sterling existed because now they've already booked Sean O'Malley versus Chito Vera for the next title shot in March. And then most likely they're going to make Merab versus Cejudo sometime early next year. And then it seems, it's rumored right now that Corey Sandhagen is going to fight Umar Nurmagomedov early next year as well. So you guys see how the UFC already moved on from Aljamain Sterling. The bantamweight division is already moving on from Aljamain Sterling. There is no room for him to get a rematch. Clearly, that is not in the UFC's plans because the winner of Chito Vera versus Sean O'Malley is most likely going to fight the winner of Merab versus Cejudo. And then I think the next up would be the winner of Corey Sandhagen versus Umar Nurmagomedov. So you guys see how there's no space for Aljamain Sterling in the bantamweight division anymore. It's like he kind of in a way, I mean, I don't know if they talked about it behind the scenes before the UFC made all these fights in the bantamweight division, but it seems like the UFC is pressuring Aljamain Sterling like, hey, you kind of forced to move up or just wait or just fight a lower contender. You know what I'm saying? Where he shouldn't because he had 2 to 3 title defenses. You know, he did the UFC a favor by fighting Sean O'Malley in such a quick turnaround. It was an early stoppage, guys. It was an early stoppage. The fight could have gone a little longer. So that also helps Aljamain Sterling maybe get that rematch. And Aljamain Sterling did try to get that rematch, but the UFC didn't even entertain it. You know, they're like, fuck no. Sean O'Malley said, fuck no, you're not getting a rematch. And like I said, I think Aljamain Sterling kind of made it worse for himself. He made it worse for himself by discussing the possibility of moving up to 145 before his fight with Sean O'Malley. Like, I felt like he shouldn't have said anything. See what happens in that fight with Sean O'Malley, because let's be honest, like I know that every UFC fighter is confident that they're gonna win, but the reality is that there's always gonna be a winner and a loser, and you never know what could happen in an MMA fight, right? It's unpredictable. So I think Sterling wasn't very smart in talking about the possibility of him moving up to the featherweight division. I think it bit him in the ass, to be totally honest with you guys. And now he's kind of forced, right, to move up to the featherweight division. In my opinion, he's forced because the bantamweight division is already moving forward, all steam ahead. Like, they do not give a fuck about Aljamain Sterling. You know what I'm saying? There's no matchup for him right now. I mean, maybe he could fight Peter Yan lower down the rankings, but it doesn't even make sense. And I think even if he beats Peter Yan, I don't even think he would get a title shot back. So, and it also didn't help, obviously, that Merab and Aljamain Sterling are very close friends and that they publicly stated that they would never fight each other. And the UFC doesn't like that shit. You know what I'm saying? The UFC doesn't like that shit. I don't like that shit either because as an MMA fan, as a UFC fan, you want to see who's the best in the world, and you don't want these guys to be like, oh, well, now we're all buddy, so we're not going to fight each other. It's like, no, fuck that. It's fighting. We want to know who's the best competitor. It doesn't mean that you guys need to have, you know, a rivalry. You guys need to hate each other. But if you guys are highly skilled and there's a match and it just makes sense for you guys to fight, then you guys should probably fight. In my opinion, that's what should happen. But they're close friends, and I understand that they're not going to fight each other. But in a way, they have to look out for their own career, right? Merab is looking out for his own career. He's also at a cusp of a title shot. Aljamain Sterling is a former champion, and I could see how in his head he might think, hey, maybe if I get another good win in the bantamweight division, I'm right back. I'm back at a title shot. I could get a title shot again. But the reality is that that whole situation is kind of messy. You know what I'm saying? So in a way, even though Aljamain Sterling is announcing his move up to featherweight, I feel like he was forced to. Like I felt like there was no other option, to be honest, unless he just waits. He waits to see what happens in the bantamweight division. Maybe he doesn't fight for a year or so, and then maybe he could see the landscape of the bantamweight division and maybe try to find the right opportunity, the right matchup to then maybe get back to the title. But I just think that the UFC, they just wanted Aljamain Sterling out of there. Like, let's be honest. They put Henry Cejudo to try to get Aljamain Sterling out of there. It did not work. It almost worked. It was a split decision. They put Sean O'Malley. Short turnaround for Aljamain Sterling, and it worked. And now they're like, haha, Aljamain Sterling is out. Fuck you. We're not going to talk about you anymore. But I think the UFC needs to do the right thing and repay Aljamain Sterling by giving him a huge fight in the featherweight division against Max Holloway. And I know some of you guys might say, well, why does it matter? Like, Max Holloway is absolutely going to destroy him. And even though I do think that his chances against Max Holloway are slim, I do think he has a chance of winning. I mean, you know, his skills are up there. He has great grappling, great BJJ. But on the feet, I mean, Max Holloway's levels above Aljamain Sterling when it comes to striking and just levels of striking. Just it's very different. And even Aljamain Sterling in the bantamweight division, he wasn't the greatest striker. You know what I'm saying? He used the striking to try to get his takedowns, but he didn't necessarily have any power in his shots. And I do think his chin is a bit suspect. I mean, he's been knocked out brutally. I mean, he got TKO'd against Sean O'Malley, and then he's got knocked out brutally. So in his career, so I don't know how his chin is necessarily gonna hold up at 145. And another thing as well is that I think that one of Aljamain Sterling's best attributes in the bantamweight division was how big he was, and the fact that he was so big in the bantamweight division, he had that strength. He was just a lot stronger than these guys, and I don't know if he's gonna be stronger than the guys in the featherweight division. If not, he might be a little bit smaller than these guys. You know, how tall is Max Holloway? Like five. I want to say like 5'10", 5'11". You know, Aljamain Sterling might be like 5'6", 5'7". So he's gonna be a lot smaller than these guys in the featherweight division. And I think that Aljamain Sterling should only fight Max Holloway. Do not entertain the idea of fighting a Yair Rodriguez. Do not entertain the idea of fighting a Brian Ortega. And I don't think he's going to fight the winner of Volkanovski versus Topuria. I don't think the UFC would automatically grant him a title shot. Maybe if he was some sort of another fighter, maybe they would grant him a title shot. But it just makes sense for him to fight Max Holloway. And I know I did discuss the possibility of Max Holloway fighting Justin Gaethje. But if you're Max Holloway, I think you'd rather take the Aljamain Sterling matchup than the Justin Gaethje matchup. Even though the Justin Gaethje fight is a way bigger fight than the Aljamain Sterling fight, I do think it's a bad stylistic fight for Max Holloway. And I think also Justin Gaethje knows that he's next after Charles Oliveira. So why would he want to take a fight prior to that? You know what I'm saying? I feel like Justin Gaethje right now, he's pretty focused on getting the belt. And I think maybe possibly retiring. I don't really see Justin Gaethje having too many fights in him. So I think Justin Gaethje is focused on fighting the winner of Charles Oliveira versus Islam Makhachev. And maybe this time off helps Justin Gaethje, you know, improve his skills and recover from all those wars he's had. So I could see why Justin Gaethje maybe will not want to fight Max Holloway, and also the fact that he did say that he just doesn't want to hurt Max Holloway, right? That he's a big fan of Max Holloway and he doesn't necessarily want to fight him. So I could kind of see why that fight is most likely not going to happen, but I think there's a greater chance of Aljamain Sterling fighting Max Holloway. I think it's a really good fight. I think it's a really great fight, honestly. Just the fight stylistically, it's a very interesting fight, right? Because Aljamain Sterling is way better on the ground. We want to see how Aljamain Sterling would do against these featherweights. And I mean, Max Holloway is considered the uncrowned champ of 145. I mean, he beats basically everybody and embarrasses them except Volkanovski. So I think if Aljamain Sterling is able to go out there and beat somebody like Max Holloway, he would get a title shot right away. You know what I mean? Like, there would be no debate. Aljamain Sterling deserves a title shot if he's able to beat someone like Max Holloway. So I think it's a fantastic fight. I think it's what makes sense for Aljamain Sterling's career. And like I said, I think the UFC should repay Aljamain Sterling for the quick turnaround against Sean O'Malley, because let's be honest, they put him in a disadvantage. They set him up, in my opinion. They set him up, and I think the UFC should fix that and repay him by granting him this huge fight in the featherweight division. And that's that. I mean, those are my thoughts on Aljamain Sterling moving up to the featherweight division. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts on Aljamain Sterling moving up to the featherweight division. Sorry that this video is a little late. I know that, nobody's talking about this anymore. This news came out a week ago, but I still wanted to discuss it, guys. So please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.